Be the last speaker for the night, and our next speaker is going to be Jeremy Stewart, a second-year student from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And his fun fact is that when he was a kid, he had a pet bird named Sony, and I think the actual fun fact is he was actually doing push-ups when he's waiting in the waiting room. So let's welcome Jeremy.
How's everyone doing tonight? Alright, don't worry. I like to get to the point, so this will be short. Anyone who's ever been to the South knows that there's two things that we care about: Jesus and football. Growing up, the youngest of three boys, my dad had a lot of practice in coaching my older brothers in football. So when I was born, it was an unspoken expectation for me to follow in their footsteps. But from day one, my relationship with football wasn't a smooth journey. Can you guys hear me in the back?
Yeah, we can.
All right. So when I was 6 months old, my mom, my brother, and I were headed to daycare when we stopped at a railroad crossing as a train approached. My mom was really into real estate, so she noticed this house that had recently been built. And as she was admiring this house, she didn't realize that her foot had came off the brake and the car began to roll onto the train track. The train ended up hitting our car on the driver's side. My older brother was perfectly fine. My mom shattered her leg, but she ended up being okay. And me being at 6 months, the glass from the windshield ended up giving me a huge gash on my neck. So when the paramedics got there, the first thing they did was rush me to ICU. And given my age and the severity of my injuries, the initial prognosis was that it was a good chance that I wouldn't survive. But after a skin graft and multiple other surgeries, the doctors upgraded my prognosis, and they told my parents I would more than likely survive, but there was a good chance that I would have severe lingering physical and intellectual effects stemming from this accident. And just to be explicit, they told them I should probably never play any contact sports. Obviously, the doctor didn't know my dad because as soon as I turned 8, he enlisted me in the local tackle football team without my mom knowing about it. So obviously when she found out, she was livid, but eventually she got over it and let me play, and that was an opportunity that I didn't take for granted. From the beginning, I'd always knew I wanted to play in the NFL, and I spent my summers training for the upcoming season. I'm sure my neighbors thought I was insane because every day I would just sprint up and down our block. That hard work ended up paying off in high school. I excelled as a running back and ended up getting a full athletic scholarship to play at Stanford. So leading up to college, my goal of playing in the NFL had been going pretty smoothly. But fast forward to my senior year, that statement couldn't have been further from the truth. Between a bunch of injuries from my freshman and senior year, it had landed me last on the depth chart. In other words, I was a bench warmer. After the first few games of my senior season, I had gotten 0 playing time. So probably the most frustrating part about this was the amount of time that I had put into accomplishing this goal. Outside of the 60 hours of mandatory team activities, I was probably putting in another 15 to 20 hours on my own watching film and doing drills to get better. So at this point, feeling like I really had nothing to lose, I decided to go talk to my coach. Leading up to this, pretty much, this is my last chance to accomplish my lifelong dream, playing football. And from the looks of it, I wasn't even good enough to play on my college team. So feeling like I had nothing to lose, I went to have a chat with my coach. And after probably an hour-long conversation of us voicing our difference in opinion on how much playing time I deserved, we came to an agreement that And the next game, if he gave me one opportunity, one carry, I would never bother him again about playing time. And surprisingly, he agreed to it. So the next Saturday, we arrive in North Carolina to play Duke. And the game starts. Someone laugh. The game starts, and I'm excited to get my opportunity, and eventually the coach calls my number. So as I'm jogging out on the field, I'm thinking to myself in the back of my mind, how I'm about to torch the defense, finally get the recognition that I deserve. So the play call comes in, it's a 96 power. That's a run play to the right side of the field. So the quarterback snaps the ball, gives it to me, and as soon as I get to the line of scrimmage, I get blasted. 0-yard game. The play that I had been anticipating all week was a huge dud. So as I'm lying at the bottom of the pile, my first thought was, well, there goes my chance at ever playing football again. I wonder when basketball tryouts start. So I'm getting out the jog bag and I'm practicing my Euro step for football tryouts. Surprisingly, my coach didn't take me out of the game. So I didn't know what was going on, but I wasn't about to ask any questions. So I run back to the huddle, and the next play call was the exact same play. And there was no way that I was going to let this one go to waste. So as soon as I got the ball, I hit the first crease I saw, and I don't think I've ever run that fast in my life. That play ended up being a 40-yard touchdown. And honestly, I think that was probably the most pivotal point in my football career. After that game, I got a lot more playing time, ending up leading our team in touchdowns that year and garnered a lot of attention from NFL scouts. Ultimately, I was able to parlay that season into a 4-year career in the NFL and accomplish something that my dad is still ecstatic about. When I hear the phrase, trust the process, I don't think of it as this passive approach where you kind of let everything happen the way that it's going to happen. Instead, I think the key word is process. And I think of that as a reminder to take consistent action towards your final goal, regardless of the optics. Thank you.